It is that time of year again. It is time to talk about the best comics of 2024 so far. What's going on, everybody? Sean with Hydra Asylum Comics here. As you heard at the top, it is that time of year to talk about the best reads so far. But there is a little something different about this video. I'm not alone. As you can see, after 4 years of begging and pleading, Jay finally caved in, and he's here to share some of his favorite reads from this year as well. Plus, we got a little bonus for you guys at the end if you stick around. All right, Jay, I know you've read a lot more than I have this year. I imagine your list was probably quite a bit harder to put together than mine. But nonetheless, how many you got for us today?
I got about 5 on my and here's why I agreed to do this. I know the thumb is probably going to say best reads or what have you. I agreed because I didn't do a best of list. This is not a final. These are the best comics I read all year. Because yes, I have read a ton of stuff this year. These are more of some of my favorites. And if I put all my favorites on here, this would be a 6-hour video, and we can't do that. So I got about 5, and then I have some honorable mentions and some cool stuff, like you said, to show off afterwards. So without any further ado, because if I keep going, we're going to babble for another 10 minutes. Haas, why don't you start us off?
All right. So the first one on my list, and I'm going to say for both of us, these are in no particular order from 5 to 1. This is just 5 awesome books. So first up for me is going to be Monsters Are My Business. We've both read this one, and Jay's the one that actually turned me on to this series. Not gonna lie, folks, if you've read Cullen Bunn before, this is a little bit of a departure from some of his writing. He does horror probably better than just about anybody. But this one has a little bit of a comedic element to it that honestly I have not seen from Cullen before. And I think that's why it sticks out so much in my head. Just because of that, you got a big brooding dude, and then you got his cute little pet that he brings around him while he's hunting monsters.
Cuddles.
So it's just, do you agree, Jay? To me, it's a little off center of what he normally does right to me.
Oh yeah, 100%. And folks, Sean is always better at reviews than I am. But here's how I would sell you on this book. The koala has a chainsaw.
There we go. All right, so that is my first one off the list. Jay, what you got?
So I've been talking about this on Minute to Skim It for a while now, the show that I do on The Experience. But Tony Fleeks has been on a tear with books lately. He has one of mine. It should have been an honorable mention, but it's not. One of my favorite Army of Darkness stories going on right now. He's got Feral. He's one of the brilliant minds behind Stray Dogs. I had to go with Uncanny Valley. This book is the quintessential not legally this cartoon character when characters show up. It is basically a little boy who finds out that he's part cartoon. He's done things where a fire starts when he gets mad, and he's fallen down a ravine and not gotten hurt. Just weird things, and he doesn't understand what's going on. But then you find out he's half cartoon from his mom, who got it from her dad, who is a cartoon character named Pecos Pete, I believe. It is just one of the most original stories I've read in a while. It's so good. If you haven't checked it out, I would tell you 1,000%. At least do the first issue. I think you'll be hooked.
Yeah, totally agree. And I was late to the party on that one, if you remember. I think it was already 4 issues deep by the time I finally read something. So, yeah, 100% agree with everything he said. All right, so next up on my list is another favorite of ours for both of us, from one of our favorite writers, Scott Wilkie and Bad Bug Media. This is Cupid And this is the second book in his, as we affectionately call it, the Swilky Way Galaxy that he's doing, which is basically like a holiday verse that he's doing. He's taking your traditional holiday characters and he's doing the craziest spin on them. And Cupid is absolutely no different. The gist of it basically is Cupid, to pay back a debt, has to try and rob somebody. And the cast of characters in here, including the Boogeyman, which I'm going to tell you right now, when you see the Boogeyman at the beginning and him at the end of the book, it is one of the craziest transformations you will ever see. Scott has just been on a tear. Everything he has written for this universe has been gold. So check this out. Also check Periwinkle out, which is the original. And I think he's got a third one coming soon, which I believe looks like Jack Frost based on all the teaser photos.
I think so.
So yeah, 100% need to check this out.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Cupid a little bit more later on, but that was my favorite part of the book, the Boogeyman transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And technically it's a one shot, but it's not going to be a one shot because I told Scott, I said, Scott, I need more of this, man. And this is in that world of Periwinkle, and you know that from the very beginning of the book.
Yep.
Because basically what happens to Santa in Periwinkle kind of trickles down to all the other like fairy tale, mythical holiday kind of creatures.
Yeah.
The Tooth Fairy is actually pretty awesome in this as well. We're definitely gonna talk a little bit more on Cupid and Periwinkle and some other books near the end of the video. But yeah, Cupid, Swilky Way Galaxy is going strong. I can't wait for more. So next on my list is going to be Vicious Circle. We had another review show on the experience that Sean was sometimes a part of called In Stores This Week. Now, In Stores This Week ended up kind of dissolving, and Kyle and I moved over to Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen. So when I saw that this book was on our list of stuff to read, I had to grab it. This book, y'all, there's a reason that it took months and months between issue 1 and 2, because the art in this book has got to be some of the most amazing art I've ever seen in a comic book. And it also changes. The basic gist of the story is, and I can't really remember the first issue, that's how long it's been. The basic gist is there's these two guys, and when they die, it feels like they travel through time. And each time period they travel to is a different art style. This book is just amazing. I can't wait, till I'm in my 50s and I get issue 3. I don't think it's going to be that far, but this is one of those books that, people might get a little upset about because they're like, man, you got to wait this long between issues, but it's worth it because not only the art, the story itself is super intriguing. This is another one of those, y'all. Everything on my list is going to be one I'm going to be like at the end of when I'm talking about it. You seriously need to check this out because they are. That's why these are some of my favorite books I read this year. So yeah, you should definitely check this one out, folks.
Alrighty. Next up on my list is, granted, there's only one issue out of it, but it took me in because it was such a different take on them that I had ever seen. And this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Jason Aaron run that just started. And the first issue is solely based on Raphael, who is in prison, which is what literally took me by surprise when I read the solicitation for it. So I knew I had to check it out. And like I said, color me a fan. I have not read much of Jason Aaron's stuff before this. Actually, I've not read anything, if I'm being fully transparent. So instant fan. He got me to like a universe that, as much as I love the TMNT movies and all the cartoons and stuff, it's been hard for me to really get into the comics. I like all the crossovers that they do. They work well there. But when it comes to just their main story arc and stuff, Jay can attest to this, it's been pretty hard for me to really get behind them. So this one, Raph in prison and him breaking out because he learns that some big kind of sinister force is trying to come for him and the other turtles who have all kind of scattered and are really not in New York anymore. it has me intrigued. So the first 4 issues are going to be based around each turtle individually, and then it will come together. I don't know how many issues it's going to be. I just think it's going to be personally awesome and one worth checking out.
Little asterisk there. Aside from the crossovers, The Last Ronin.
Yes, Last Ronin has probably got to be the best turtle story, bar none, that I've read so far.
The coolest thing about that is, once again, I want to say it was in stores this week because it was a while back. That ended up on our list, and it was the whole thing. And, we only had an hour in our show to have 3 to 4 people talk about books.
Yep.
I was going to skim this thing because it was the whole story. I ended up reading the whole thing. I could not stop myself. The Last Ronin was amazing. I need to check out the Jason Aaron stuff. Jason's a little polarizing to some people,
Okay.
but I really dig his Punisher Max Bullseye trade, the series that he did. I have the trade for it. It was actually one of my Marvel Max books you should read on that short the other day.
Huh.
So I really enjoyed that. So,
well, you are the Marvel Max expert out of everybody here on the channel. So
a little bit, yeah. So the next one I got on my list is Lester of the Lesser Gods. This book is so freaking wild, y'all. This is the most backcrap crazy thing I think I've read in a long time. It's super funny. Think Jack Black being ridiculous Jack Black in like a leather thong. All right. And you got goblins who are just like hanging brain trying to jump them. They're called knob goblins, by the way. It's a hard book to explain, y'all, but it's super, super funny. I'll try to find some safe pages because it's very dirty. And I can tell you this, my main boss, Kyle, main head producer on the Experience, he loved this book. And to me, when Kyle tells me, hey, I love this book and you should read it, that's all I need. Because Kyle's not a liker of many things, but he loved this book and he was spot on. So make sure you check this out. Lester of the Lesser Gods. Awesome.
Well, then to follow up a crazy book like that with an equally crazy book, I'm just going to say this. If you are a fan of the video game, you're going to be a fan of this comic. And I'm talking about High on Life. And the reason why this one came on my radar is one of our favorite artists, Kit Wallace, does the art on this book. And anybody who knows Kit's work knows what I'm about to say. Give Kit the most out there books to draw, and he shines. Look at you've got this, you've got his Mr. Easta series. You need to read that. His brilliant work on Good Boy, countless other books. But specifically when you give him something like this and Mr. Easta, his art style just goes from 10 to like 20. And if you've played the video game, the art, he does a very good job of encompassing what you see in the game and bringing it to life in this book. And I had a great time reading it. This does take place pretty much, I don't think it's right after the events of the game, but it's a little while after, where the bounty hunter is now basically on the trail of somebody who is trying to kill humans. That's the basic premise of the whole thing. Not going to tell you everything because they do give you a cliffhanger and introduce who it is actually at the end of the issue. Mm-hmm. But from that whole point on, this has been one of the most fun reads. I read it just because I want to have that holy crap moment. I just want to turn my brain off for a minute and just have a really good time reading a book. And if for no other reason, that is why I would recommend it, because you don't have to take it so seriously. Just have a good time reading it, just like the video game. Just have a good time. It's crazy, it's awesome, and it's fun. That's the best endorsement I think that I can give.
Look, I'll be first one to say this, and Sean knows this, and most people that know me know this. I am not a first-person shooter guy. Outside of like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, never really been a first-person shooter guy. I played this game for like a week straight, and I just couldn't stop playing it. I beat it, and then I was like, I need to clean up the achievements, but it was so fun and so funny. And also a special note, it wasn't just our buddy Kip Wallace that worked on this book. Dave Lentz did the lettering.
Dave is never going to let me forget that I forgot that.
Uh,
Dave, just go ahead and leave a comment down below now, bro. I know you're going to hit me hard for that one.
Yeah. But we mentioned Dave, so cut the check.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, super, super fun, y'all. Very irreverent humor. Like, if that's your jam, check out the game and check out the comic. So, next on my list is actually kind of cheating, but it's my list, so I'll do what I want. But it's the Ghost Machine universe, which would be an honorable mention also the Valiant universe, but there hadn't been too much of that out yet for me to say it's my favorite just yet. But it's going to be, trust me, it's going to be on another list somewhere. But anyway, the Ghost Machine universe. This was another thing that, thanks to my job, I love my job. I can't stress that enough. I don't just say it. I love my job.
He lives it.
Yeah. Thanks to them, we got, before they started dropping all the Ghost Machine books, we got like a preview book that shows you everything that's going to be in this universe, gives you a timeline of where these books took place in a fictional universe. There's more, y'all. It's not just the main three that are going on right now. There's quite a few more books that are coming out from this universe. But the three main ones right now are Geiger, which I never read the original one, but I started reading this series. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Redcoat, which I love. Redcoat is so fun and funny. It's about an immortal who's really a coward and not a good person. It's super fun. And then I think one of my favorites has got to be Rook Exodus. Rook Exodus is a book that it could have no words, and it would still be one of my favorite books. The art in this book is just tremendous. Like, I am not a person that cares too much for art. There are some books I'm like, man, I can't deny it's beautiful art. This book, though, it could literally have no words, and I would still pick it up. That one is basically people going to like an Earth 2, and they're given helmets, and these helmets communicate with animals. Like, our main character has, I guess, like a crow helmet. Mm-hmm. So he can communicate with crows, but he can also feel and know what they're thinking. It's a weird kind of thing. But that whole universe is one of those that, just like Valiant, I will tell people, if you have not jumped on the Ghost Machine stuff yet, you really need to, because this one is going to be just like I think is going to happen. If this is what's going to happen, you remember how hard it ended up being to get Something Is Killing the Children numbers 1 through 5 after a little while?
Yep.
Right? I think this is going to be just like that. So if you haven't jumped on the Ghost Machine stuff yet, I mean, Jeff Johns is a part of it. So jump on it.
Okay, so before we get into my last one for this list, I'm going to do one honorable mention, and that is for Bigfoot Knows Karate Hinnagon. Little sidebar. Finally got to meet Dan Price, one of the creators of this series, when I went to my first Comic-Con, Comicpalooza this year. Had an amazing time. Jay and Jenna have got to meet him in years past, and this was the first time that we'd actually gotten to go eat dinner with him. He does a big kind of dinner with some creators. That was an absolute blast. Everybody we met that night was so cool. So cool. Dan, look forward to seeing you next year. We will be there. If you do the dinner again, we're happy to come and hang out with you guys again as well. But it was a great time. As for the book, if anybody's followed the channel for a little while, they know that we love this series. Bigfoot Knows Karate is an amazing series that first issue had one of the biggest twists ever. I mean, ever, that I've ever seen in a comic. Dan and Casey did a great job of pitching this book, but they did a great job of not telling you anything after about the first half. And what the story has become since then is one holy crap moment after another. Now, Hindagon is a little different because one of the fans of the original series, Adam Caswell, who's also an extremely talented artist, had sent Dan in some, like fan art, and basically it turned into Dan asked, "Would you like to draw a book?" If I were to liken this book, TJ, to a popular series that most people know, I kind of liken it to Frank Miller's Ronin. And what I mean by that is that there's not a whole lot of dialogue or exposition on the pages. It is very art driven. I don't know much about the original Ronin series, but I know that, there were some fantastical art pages. Sometimes it would be 2-page spreads. And a lot of this book is like that. And it's so, as far as art goes, you could have no words and you would know exactly what the story is trying to tell you. It's just an amazing piece of work. So that's my one honorable mention here. All right. I swear to God, I did not save this book for last to be the final one I talk about because of what's in the title. But I'm here. But it's Final Girl Next Door from Bad Bug Media. One of our good friends, Alan Dunford, and an amazing creative team. As soon as Alan told us about this book and gave us the special preview of it, which we'll leave a link for down in the description, we told him, dude, this is going to be a hit. Going to be one of the best books of the year. And I stand by that statement. It is everything Alan is known for. Alan is probably one of the best horror comedy writers in comics right now. He does it so well. And if you ever get the chance to meet him, you will 100% see where a lot of his humor comes from, because he's hilarious. But yeah, basically the gist of it is it's a girl moves to a small town after witnessing her friends get murdered by a group of serial killers. The first few pages of this with the French chef, all the gore and the blood, but his funny languages. He kind of reminds me of the chef from The Little Mermaid with how he speaks, very much like that. But yeah, so she moves to a small town trying to escape all this, and they end up coming to find her. And the comedic part of it, to a point, is her neighbor across the street has a huge crush on her. So you add that in with getting chased by serial killers, blood and gore, and you've just got a recipe for one of the most fun books that I have read in a long time. Jay, and like I said, Jay can add in his thoughts, but I absolutely love this book. I'm not saying it's my number one this year, not saying that, but it is definitely up there.
Yeah, it's a super fun book. Love those folks over at Bad Bug. For me, they have not put out a bad book yet. But yeah, it's if you're a fan of horror or horror comedy, that is definitely a book to pick up, because I'm in agreement with you. There's not too many that do it as good as Alan does.
Yeah.
All right, so last on my list, before I get to the 18 million honorable mentions I have, is one that really shocked me this year. And once again, thanks to work, is how I got to read it. And that's Space Ghost. Now, I've been loving what Dynamite's been doing with the Disney stuff and the other Hanna-Barbera characters. But the thing is, I had no ties to Space Ghost at all. I don't know how I missed this character. I know most Hanna-Barbera folks, but I never watched Coast to Coast, which apparently was like a parody show of the character. I never saw reruns of the old cartoon. Nothing. This is a very serious book.
Yeah.
Very serious book. And it's basically what it kind of feels like Batman in space. Except he has two Robins and a monkey named Blip. I think the monkey's named Blip. I always get Blip and Gleek mixed up. I think Gleek is the Wonder Twins, and Blip is the one for Space Ghost with the kids. I never remember the kids' names either. But when I tell you that the art in this book is as otherworldly as the character himself. I mean that.
Yeah.
I was blown away, and I know I've said Vicious Circle had great art, and that the Ghost Machine book had great art. This is right up there. There are things that the artist Jonathan Lau has done in this book that I didn't think humans were capable of. Like the pure talent of our fellow humans astonishes me sometimes. And David Pepose, who I am familiar with, was the writer. And this comic and this team got me to love this character. I love this book. We're 4 or 5 issues in now, and each issue is just mind-bogglingly awesome. It melts my brain reading this book, and I cannot believe I've never heard of I've heard of the character, obviously, but I've never read or seen anything with this character in it.
Yeah.
And this thing it blew my mind.
Yeah.
It's so good. Believe the hype, folks. Believe the hype of Space Ghost.
Yeah. No, and I've only read issue 1, but I'm in total agreement. And I'm glad that they went the route that they did versus it being like coast to coast. Because I think if they had done coast to coast, it would have failed. Yeah. Personally. That was something better left to what it was on TV. This series being the tone that it is, spot on. Good call by the creative team. And once again, in total agreement, Dynamite has been absolutely killing it.
They have. And there's a lot of people out there, and I want to go ahead and clear this part up. There's a lot of people out there that think that I talk nice about Dynamite books because I work for Dynamite. I don't. The experience of Dynamite are 2 separate entities. So trust me, there's been Dynamite books that I haven't liked, but I can't deny when a book is good.
Yeah.
And Dynamite has honestly been putting out killer stuff.
Yeah.
So trust me, when I tell you that I love this Dynamite book, believe me, because Thundercats has been amazing. Chitara, the Disney, like I said, the Disney stuff has all been great. Like they really are just crushing it. I know they have 8 billion covers for everything, but we joke about that all the time. Some of the covers are excessive, but people buy them, so yeah. there's got to be a reason for it. Yep. So that was the last on my regular list.
Okay.
Now, I have like 8 million different honorable mentions because, like I said, I read so much that it's very hard to just pick a few. So I want to give a big shout out to another character that I've heard of, but I've never read anything, and that's Grendel, the Devil's Crucible. This character reminds me of if you took Spawn and he grew up in the Boys universe. This book has done stuff in a comic where I'm like, oh, we're going there with that. And it just like the first issue was very violent. The first issue of this was very violent. That, for whatever reason, I'm good with. Doesn't shock me too much. The second issue, something happens in there, and I'm like, oh wow, okay. We're doing that. All right, cool. But people tell me all the time that the Grendel stuff is really good. In fact, at one point in time, there's actually the creator has a Blu-ray copy of a season that they were going to do for Netflix, but then I believe when COVID happened, it didn't go through.
Oh, okay.
So this was actually like made into a show. I don't know if it was live action or cartoon, but this would be just awesome to see on the screen. So that's one of my honorable mentions. Now, some of my other ones happen to come from some Kickstarters I've had for a couple months now and have not gotten around to unboxing. So I put them all in the box that this book comes from.
Yeah.
So let me just go ahead and start out. My first book isn't going to be what's on the box. So my first book is actually going to be Sync Monsters Deluxe Edition. A little bit of glare, but there we
Look
go.
at that beautiful beast.
And I got a bunch. There's a bunch of goodies in the back here. Bunch
Gotta
of
love,
goodies.
gotta love Comics Tribe.
Yep. who right now have a Kickstarter going for another anthology series featuring one of two of my favorite, and these guys are neck and neck. Matter Red from Image is one of my favorite villains, but right razor thin on top of him is Oxymoron from Comics Tribe, who not only has this anthology series he's in, but I have the first anthology series. He has his own graphic novel called Oxymoron, The Loveliest Nightmare. He's also the main antagonist in the Red 10 series. Like, this guy is almost the connective tissue for the comic. If Comics Tribe was doing a universe, he's like the connective tissue. So go to Kickstarter. We'll probably leave that link in the description. I'll have to make a note of it so I can remember. The next thing is actually one that Sean already talked about, but I want to go ahead and show you because I didn't unbox this one either, and that is my copy of Cupid.
Yeah. Look, it's all the characters that we mentioned on the cover.
This is deceiving. Just throwing that out there. And then it's got a cool periwinkle print that came with it.
Yeah.
So that's super dope. Now let's get into something that Sean and I can actually show y'all kind of together, but I'm gonna go through mine first.
Yeah.
The box, as you saw with a big pink bunny on it, is a character from our first book we ever got from Alan and the team over there. At least for me, the first time I ever heard about them. Before we learned that they were the same company, same publisher folks, came from a book called Pocus Hocus. And I know that sounds wrong, but trust me,
It's right.
once you say it for a while, saying Hocus Pocus feels wrong. It does. But this is actually like a side character from that named Horace. So this is my number 2 because I got number 1 of Horace in Hell. He is Hell's fluffiest general. And I want to say I have an unboxing review video for that somewhere on the channel. And we got, all the goodies in the back. Now, Sean, this is one of the covers you got too, correct?
Yes, I have this cover.
Okay.
I also, they were nice enough. I got the box as well. So we got spoiled.
Then I got this cover.
Yep, I got that one as well.
Now, I didn't get the cover that I got for the first one, and I don't want to spoil it because Sean got it. So I want Sean to show you. But There was a cover that I got specifically for number 1. I didn't get it this time. Hopefully later on down the road I can go back and get it.
Yeah.
But I also got a new book from Alan with of course Dave lettering.
Oh, okay. So he sent you that as well.
The Herald, which looks really cool. Comes with this really. I love cards, man. Like, that's one thing I gotta tell Kickstarter folks all the time. I love cards, whether they're regular cards or what I've been trying to push to people lately is not only metal cards, but for folks who can't afford to get metal covers, maybe metal cards of their covers.
Okay.
So you can collect the covers that way.
And you've been told more than once that is a genius idea.
Yep. There's actually a company out there, and I won't call them out. I won't say that I gave them the idea, but I did give them the idea, and they actually ran with it. I was like, metal cards would be awesome. And in the next campaign, they had metal cards. And they were like, that was a fantastic idea. So I love doing that. I love giving creators and stuff the idea. Now, that is from Bad Bug. Now, what I mentioned before was my first, I think it was because Dave, we talked to Dave. I haven't talked to Dave in a long time. Dave, I need to hit you up, see how you're doing. But Dave is one of the busiest letterers in the game. he letters like 98% of Kickstarters. And we met him through Garrett Gunn for Good Boy and things like that. And he sent me a list of Kickstarters he was working on. And immediately, Pocus Hocus caught my attention. So I'm like, you know what? I got to back this book. Then later on, Sean says, dude, I found this awesome book called Midnight Highway from this publisher called Bad Bug. Then we happened to notice on both our campaigns that the other's book was on it. And that's when we realized that these folks all knew each other. It was a funny story. One of those you had to be there kind of moments, but it was actually really cool. So I'm gonna flip it over to Sean now, so Sean can show you some of his stuff and the covers that he got that I didn't get.
Which is really only like 2 covers. But since we ended on Horace, I'll go ahead and start with Horace and show you the cover that Jay wanted to get, and he's got the same style of cover for issue 1. But that is the Dave Lentz cover, which is a Mike Mignola Hellboy homage cover. Jay has this for issue 1. I had to get it for issue 2 because, again, Dave's a really good friend of ours. And honestly, the fact that he did this, I was like, okay, the dude's got way too much talent.
Dave does everything. Dave does everything.
Then this is going to be all Bad Bug, by the way. You can tell who we backed the most. So truth be told, and Scott has given me heck for this before, I didn't back Periwinkle when it originally came out because at the time, for anybody who maybe hasn't followed the channel for a while, Jay, Jenna, and I were all, we lived together for quite a while. So rather than double buy stuff and get confused, if one of us got it, the other people wouldn't, so that it was just easier. So I didn't get Periwinkle originally, but that was just meant to be. So when they launched Cupid, there was a crossover cover that you can get if you, I think it's if you bought both books. It was like a tier that if you bought both, you got a special cover for Cupid. So that's what I got. So this is my cover. And if that doesn't prove that Periwinkle and all this is a connected universe, I don't know what does. But you know what, Jay? Let's just, see, here's some of the art. I'm not going to show you the transformation we're talking about, though.
Nope.
Because I want you to buy the book and I want you to see what the Boogeyman turns into because it is awesome. And then the very last thing I got is one of the other books that was actually on the list, but it is my cover for issue 1 of Final Girl Next Door. This is the Kit Wallace cover. Again, love Kit's work. His covers are amazing. His interior art is amazing. And as soon as I saw that was his cover, I knew exactly what I was going to get. So that's basically all I've got as far as stuff that I haven't unboxed for the channel. Again, life has just been super busy. We got hit by a hurricane about a month and a half ago at this point. That put a lot of stuff behind for us. So it's mainly just been work, catching up. That's why you've probably seen that the video flow has been a little lower than normal. But we're getting to a point now where everybody is kind of starting to get back to normal. So you'll probably start seeing video output, especially stuff like this, long forms, start coming out a little more frequently. Because Jay and I kind of had a good conversation about a week or so ago that we wanted to consciously do more stuff like this where we're both here talking. We've got 1,000,001 ideas of long forms and shorts we can do individually, but stuff like this is a whole lot of fun to do. We just don't get to do it as often. So you'll see a little bit more of this in the coming months. I don't know how much more often, but if, maybe we can try to do something once a month, once every couple of months where we have something big, that'd be cool. So,
yep. And since we did show a lot of Bad Bug stuff, we might want to mention the epic union that is Garrett Gunn and Bad Bug in their book Fingers.
Yeah.
We'll leave a link down there. We're not gonna put a picture of that up. There are some safe pictures to use because that's what I used when I shared it on Facebook. But we're gonna leave the links because we want you to check the series out. They've gotten to 41,000 on what was it, day 1? Yeah.
They got like 35 on day 1. On day 2, they're already in the 40s. It's been a ridiculous response to this book.
Yes. So you're definitely gonna be able to grab this book. So
Yes.
and the last Kickstarter I want to mention, this has just been a hodgepodge of a video. We're giving you a best of list, we're doing an unboxing, a little bit of Kickstarter corner.
Yeah.
Daniel Calvin has a book, the Sherlock Holmes, the Phantom Masquerade.
I believe so. And in Hugh, I love Sherlock comics. And books. Actually, you may not remember this, but I did have it for a long time. I had that 1,000-page novel that was basically almost all of his stories in one place for the longest time. I don't know what happened to it. I kind of wish I still had it. But I had fallen off, and then the BBC show Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch brought me screaming back into that universe. Probably more so than the RDJ movies did. And then once I found out there were comics, it's been fun. And Daniels is a very talented guy. Once he announced this, I was like, all right, that's going to be worth checking out for sure. So definitely go check it out. Again, it's live on Kickstarter now. I believe running until most of these are all just started that we're talking about. So they're going to go till the end of the month. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know fingers exactly, but the Oxymoron Killing Time is October 11th.
Okay.
And Daniels is October 17th.
Okay. I think Fangers is in that same kind of time frame because they're all like 25, 30-day campaigns. So
because you know what these awesome guys did? They all launched their Kickstarters on the same day.
Yep.
I was like, oh my goodness. Like
my credit card got some use. That's all I'm gonna say.
Just a great day for indie comics in general. And we share out as much as we can. If it looks like we don't share your stuff or we're a couple days late, there are some times I share so much stuff personally, whether it's work or Kickstarters or the Hydrosylum stuff. My stuff gets buried sometimes. Yeah. So if it feels like I'm not paying attention to your stuff, more than likely you haven't seen that I said anything about it yet. But I always try to share as much as I can and try to get it out there. So hopefully, if there's somebody who, again, Facebook and some other social media platforms, they're very weird about suppressing creators. Like, it's a strange thing to me. Like, there's sometimes I don't see Kickstarters from people till a couple of days before they end when they share them on some of the social medias. So what we try to do is make sure that we share it to where, somebody who might not have seen it gets to see it and they're like, wow, I've never read anything by this person. Let me go ahead and grab that. That's kind of the whole point of the channel. It's not all just shorts and, movie reviews and trailer reactions and stuff.
This was fun for me. No lie. Like I said at the top, I've been begging you for 4 years. Please, just come on, do this once. It'll be fun. And for me, at least, it didn't disappoint. Hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully the audience, y'all had a good time. Again, stay tuned for the channel. Like I said, we've got plenty coming now that we're finally back to a spot of zen that we can really start pumping things out. I know Jay. Nope. Yeah. Bet you I'll get it right. But I know Jay has ideas galore right now. I can tell you right now, just before we went live, he sent me like 3 or 4 thumbnails. So he's ready. But as always, we appreciate your support. Like, comment, share, subscribe, leave a comment. You have no idea how excited we have been that people have been commenting. We've got to interact with everybody. That honestly, more than having 10 million views, being able to talk with people, that it means more to us than anything. So thank you for that. Again, stay tuned for more stuff from Hydrosylum Comics. Plenty of trailer reviews, comic reviews, things you should read, things that you need to tell me that I need to read. It's all coming. With that said, you got anything else, Jay, to add before we head on out?
New York Comic Con should be coming soon, so be on the lookout for some news and stuff from that.
Yes. A certain somebody that we've been waiting to get a new comic from for a few years. We're not going to tell you who, You'll find out though once the announcements get close. So for Jay, Sean, Hydrosylum Comics, we'll catch y'all later. Peace.